Hello, my name is Markus Hohenwarter. I am the founder and creator of GeoGebra.
Hello everybody, my name is Julia and I'm leading the GeoGebra community team in Austria.
I would like to invite you all to the TEMBI 7 Math Education Conference. Julia and I are going to give a presentation about GeoGebra Classroom and notes for remote learning and collaboration.
GeoGebra Classroom is our new virtual platform where teachers can see the students' work in real time and they can see the progresses and can also discuss with the students their results.
And GeoGebra Notes is an interactive whiteboard environment where you can write with a digital pen, you can use interactive graphs, you can use PDFs, images and insert videos in order to document student work. You're going to be learning a lot about GeoGebra in workshops and looking forward to see you all there together. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. This is Gabriel Cantun. On behalf of the TEMBI 7 Organizing Committee, I greet you and warmly welcome to the 7th edition of the International Workshop on Trends in Research-Based Mathematics Education, in partnership with the Latinoamerican GeoGebra community. We thank you for joining us in the second plenary talk of TEMBI 7. Today, we will have the opportunity to enjoy the plenary talk entitled GeoGebra Classroom and Notes for Remote Learning and Collaboration. GeoGebra Classroom is a virtual platform for teachers to give interactive and collaborative lessons. You can easily distribute interactive GeoGebra activities and books to your students and see their progress in real time while they are working. The results can be discussed with the whole class, or you can give individual feedback and support. GeoGebra Notes allows writing with a digital pen next to interactive GeoGebra graphs. You can also include videos, PDFs, and with websites on your slides, which can be shared with other teachers and your students. In this presentation, we will try out GeoGebra Classroom and GeoGebra Notes together and discuss possible applications for your own teaching. This plenary talk will be given by Markus Hohenwarter, creator and founder of GeoGebra.
Hello, everybody.
Hohenwarter studied mathematics and computer science at the University of Salzburg in Austria. As part of his master's thesis, he designed and implemented the dynamic mathematics software GeoGebra, linking geometry and algebra in one easy-to-use system for learning and teaching mathematics. After his PhD in mathematics education, he spent 3 years at Florida Atlantic and Florida State University, where he was working on projects with middle and high school teachers. In 2010, he joined Johannes Kepler University Linz in Austria, where he is now leading the Linz School of Education and Department of STEM Education. In 2013, he received an honorary doctorate in Argentina for his work on the open source mathematics software GeoGebra. We will also have Julia Wolfinger in the plenary talk, GeoGebra community lead. Julia Wolfinger did her Bachelor of Education in Mathematics, Philosophy, and Psychology at the Johannes Kepler University in Linz, Austria. At the moment, she's doing her master's in these subjects. Since 2018, she has been working in the GeoGebra Origin Lab at the School of Education in Linz, where she is leading the GeoGebra community team. I remind each and every one of you that during Marcus and Julia's conference, you can ask questions. Les recuerdo a todas y a todos los asistentes que durante la conferencia de Marcus y Julia pueden realizar preguntas. Las pueden hacer en español o en inglés en el chat de YouTube y de Facebook durante cualquier momento de la conferencia. We thank Marcus and Julia for their presence, and I leave you with them to begin the plenary talk.
Right, thank you very much for the nice introduction to Gabriel. My name is Markus. I'm here today with Julia, and we are going to talk about GeoGebra Classroom and GeoGebra Notes. So, shall we start with the presentation already? Not sure if Sergio is going to share the slides. No. 1 second, so just until we see the slides. Perfect. Yeah, very good. So as Gabriel was already saying, you can ask questions anytime during the presentation on the chat, and then we'll be happy to answer them all. Okay, so we're going to start the first part with GeoGebra Classroom. GeoGebra Classroom, as was mentioned before, it's a system to support classroom discussions. It was originally designed in order to be used in a face-to-face environment. So when we are together with the students, teachers and students in an actual school. But it also proved now during the pandemic situation that this can also be a very useful tool for distance education. So the idea is that you can create a GeoGebra activity. You can take essentially anything that you have on a GeoGebra website, any kind of interactive GeoGebra material, and then you can share it with your students in a way that we will see in a minute when we will be doing a demo with Julia. So we will all be trying this together. And the idea really is that as a teacher, you can see in real time what the students are doing. So this way you have the opportunity to see where students are struggling, if students need your help, and then you can get in touch with them. Okay, Julia, so I think the next step would already be to start showing classes.
Yeah. So now we want to do a live demo. So on this side, the bigger screen, you will see the perspective of the teacher, and on the right side, you can also see the perspective of a student. But I will invite you all to join the class. But before we create the class, I will show you how to find out which resources can be used in Classroom. So as Markus mentioned before, you can use your already created resources. It's just important to know that the resources need to have some elements which get tasks in Classroom. So the activity needs some interactive elements. An interactive element, for example, is a GeoGebra applet or a GeoGebra question. So we have 2 question types. We have open questions, and we also have multiple choice questions. So when an activity has at least one of these 3 elements, it's possible to create a class out of these activity. So I will show you how to create a class out of an activity. On the top, you will see a button for creating a class. So when you click on this button, you now have the possibility to give the class a name and click Create. So now you already have created a class, and now you need some students in your class, and therefore you have 2 possibilities for the students to join. So the first possibility is that the students visit this link. They can also find this page on our GeoGebra website on the front page. When you go to the menu, you will here find the Classroom tab. And when you click here, you can enter this code in this video, in this dialogue. There's also a second possibility. Instead of typing in the code, you can also click, as a teacher, you can click here, and then you will get a link. So you can copy this link and share this link with your students. Then the students don't have to enter the code, so they will get directly to the class. So I invite you all.
Maybe Julia, you could copy the code into the link into the chat. Perfect.
I already copied the chat, so maybe you can also share it on social media.
Good, yeah.
So you have 2 possibilities.
Sorry, Julia, maybe just to jump in here quickly. So as I said earlier, in the beginning, when we designed GeoGebra Classroom, the idea was that as a teacher, you would do this in an actual class. So that's why we are showing the code in this way. This would be the situation where the teacher, like Julia, is in front of the class. She's sitting at the projector, and then the students would sit at their laptops, at their phones or tablets, and then they would actually type in the code. But now in our situation, like this distance learning situation, of course, the second option that Julia just mentioned with the link is much easier. So you can just share the link via Zoom or MS Teams or whatever system you're using. So that's a very quick way to get students in there. Okay, so I was just talking so that hopefully everybody gets the link. And please join. So I only see myself and Sergio at the moment as students. So it would be great if some others. Yeah, perfect. So I keep talking, so just that some people can join. Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. In the meantime, I also will show you how to join. So you can either click the link or enter the code on the classroom page, and then you can join the class. So now you have two possibilities. You can either just give in here your name so that you just join the class without logging in, or you also can log in. So when you log in with your GeoGebra account, you have the benefit that you also can come back to your session. So the class will be saved in your profile, and you also come back later and continue working on the class. So that's a great benefit. So as a student.
As a student. So what she's talking is like as a student, what we thought is that we would like to make this available without having to log in. So you don't have to log in, which makes it really easy for students to use it. Because, you know, logging in sometimes is a little bit of a problem if you don't remember your password or you don't want to give away any credentials. Because on GeoGebra, you can log in with your GeoGebra account, but also using Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and I believe a couple others. Yeah. So if you do that, just like Julia said, then the benefit would be that the students' work is saved so they can come back later, but they don't have to do that. And I think what's important to mention here is that for you as a teacher, the work of the students will always be saved, of course. So as a teacher, you have to log in the beginning, otherwise you cannot create the class. And when you're logged in as a teacher, you can always see students' work, no matter whether the students have been logged in or not. Okay, so I just did some more talking, Julia, so we have more students, and I think it's working.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, the teacher perspective, you can see that we have already 22 students in the class, so maybe we even get more, so it's always possible to join the class even when some people have already started working on the tasks. So as a teacher, I can now also click on the task overview. So I can see for the first task, already 5 people started with this task. On the student's perspective, I will also show what the student should do here. So we have here the GeoGebra 3D calculator, and our task is to get a plane through 3 points. So as a student, I can create here points. When you create a point in the 3D calculator, you have 2 options to move the point. So you can move the point up and down. And when you click again on the point, you can also move it to different sides. So as a student, I can continue here with working. And maybe as a teacher, I'm interested in the constructions of the different students. So as you can see here now, you will get live updates of the students' work. When I continue working here on the student's perspective, my work is updating in real time. And as a teacher, I can see the work of all the students to get the great overview what the students are doing.
Yes, so this was, as we said in the beginning, the initial idea was to do that in a classroom situation, like in a face-to-face classroom, where Julia as a teacher would be maybe sitting in front of the class, and now she can see what everybody's doing on her screen, and she would be able to go to individual students, like if she sees somebody struggling with a task, she may offer her help. Now with the distance learning situation, she could of course also do that, but just using the chat of your online system, like in Zoom or MS Teams or what you're using. So the idea is that GeoGebra Classroom could now be used in parallel with some video conferencing system, like we do it now. Like over the chat, you can then communicate with students, but at the moment, we don't have direct communication built into GeoGebra Classroom. That's something that we will talk about a little bit later. But the really cool thing here is that you can see in real time what's happening. And now you opened mine, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. I opened Marco's task to have a look what he was doing. So he created a cube, but that wasn't the question. So
no, sorry.
now
I just had too much fun playing.
explore if he constructed the plane in the right way, and that really looks good. And for example, when I now here changed Marco's construction, it won't change his construction. So that's only for me as a teacher, that I can explore the construction, to drag and drop some points, to have a look if everything is constructed in the right way, but it won't change the construction of the student.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the possibility to have a look at all these students' work in more detail when I click on a student card. Another nice feature is to pause the class. So as soon as I click on pause the class, you all can't continue working on that. You also can see that here on the student side, you all have to wait until I resume the class. So that's also a nice feature when you as a teacher want to make an announcement and you want to have the whole attention from the students. Then you can pause the class, and when you finished, when you want the students to continue working, you can resume the class and everyone can work again on their tasks. Another nice feature is to hide the names. When I present the results or I discuss the results with the students, I maybe want to hide the names so that maybe students don't feel bad when they made a mistake and they did the construction in the right way, so nobody will know who did a wrong construction. This option is also possible on the task overview page, so I could also hide the names before I click into a task, just to be sure that there won't be any names.
Yeah, that's very important, I think, when we do screen sharing, like we do it now. So when the teacher is sharing this overview screen with the students, so that you don't want to blame anybody necessarily. Of course, the students like if you would be doing this over your system in your own lessons, they wouldn't necessarily see this view at all. So what we see here on Julia's screen on the right side, that's the students' view, so they just would see that, but they wouldn't see the left part necessarily unless the teacher is screen sharing. Yeah. Good. What else do we want to show about Classroom, Julia?
Then let's have a look at the next task element. So as I mentioned before,
done that yet. I need to do that.
In the activity, we also have an open question. So students can answer the question, and we will also see here in real time the answers of the students. It's also possible to click on a question. For example, when the answer is longer, I can also have a look at the question in details. And I also can find here the question which is asked, so that I know where the answers belong to. And the third question type is a multiple choice question. So here we get a nice graph with all the answers. And we also have the possibility to show the correct answer. Maybe here also the pause feature is very nice, because before I show the correct answer, I maybe want to make sure that all students give an answer, and then I can pause the class and then I can show the correct answer, just in case the students maybe when I don't pause the class, they all will jump to the right answer. And
yeah, now I cannot change it any longer. That's not right.
Yeah. So everyone needs to stay at the answer they give. And I also have the possibility to have a look which students choose which answer.
You're blaming me. What's wrong?
I resume the class. Now you can change your answer.
Okay, now I can fix it. Now
everything is fine. Yeah, so that were the three task elements.
And what you've seen here very nicely is that it's very important for us that all of this is happening in real time, because many times when we're working with learning management systems, the sending of student work is many times slow and cumbersome. So where as a teacher, you have to go into some sub-menus and look at things and click on students and then wait for data to be loaded. Here, the idea is really that we want to make it very simple and very quick, that as a teacher, I can get a very quick real-time overview to see what the students are doing so we can do live discussions during the class. So a GeoGebra classroom is really intended for discussions when we are together in such an environment like now, in real time. So for synchronous teaching and learning, and not necessarily for homework. Of course, it can also be used for homework, but the real idea when it's really cool is, I think, with these live updates, when you can see in real time what's happening with students, and you can help them and discuss things. Okay, Julia, what else? Yeah. Anything else that we want to do?
Yeah, there's one last feature I want to show to you. So it's also possible to add another teacher, a co-teacher to the class. For example, when you have a colleague who is also teaching in this class, you and the colleague also has a GeoGebra account, it's possible to add them to the class. So you can enter here the email address or the GeoGebra username, and then the second teacher or even the third teacher will also see all the results of the student, and they are also able to pause the class or hide the name. So you can also work together with other teachers in the same class.
Yeah, and so I think that's particularly useful when in this distance learning situation, when the two teachers are also not in the same place. So if I would be sitting next to Julia, I could just, look at her screen. I wouldn't need that. But now that we are in separate home offices, this is very useful that we can share the co-teacher view. Perfect. Okay, Julia, that's it for Classroom, or anything else?
One last tip.
Okay.
When you click here on the question mark, you can open the tutorial, the Spanish version of our tutorial, so you can find here all the important information to have another look at it and read through it, or when you have any questions, you also will find here some answers.
And I believe, so that's great, Julia. So thanks for that. And I think that Sergio is going to share the link later. And also I've seen in the program of the TEMBI conference that there's going to be a specific workshop on GeoGebra Classroom anyway later on. So, if you are interested in this, make sure to also go there and try it again and learn even more. Okay, Julia, so maybe now is a good time to ask the audience if there are any questions. Shall we do that?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, we have several questions from the audience. Carla Hernandez asked a question. Do you have any chance to modify something from a GeoGebra classroom system to adapt it to the pandemic and distance classes? And also, Citlali Garcia, hello, my question is, what were the most prioritized GeoGebra functions to modify to adapt them to the pandemic?
So, as said, GeoGebra Classroom is very well suited to be used in the distance learning situation. What we haven't done so far is that there's no communication possibility within GeoGebra Classroom. So this is something that teachers have been asking us, and that's missing. But it is also something that we are going to add. So we are currently working on a chat functionality, so that you can directly send feedback as a teacher to a certain student within GeoGebra Classroom. Because at the moment you have to do it outside, like in Zoom or MS Teams or some other system. So that's something that we haven't thought about before the pandemic situation, because if everybody's in the classroom, you can just talk to each other. So we thought we don't need communication, but now that's what we're going to add. We're going to add a chat.
Yes, such a function will be greatly appreciated. We have also another question, Maria del Cielo Herrera Garcia. Hi, Mr. Marco. My question is, what do you consider to be one of the best features of the software you designed?
I think the best feature. I think the most important thing for us is that students can experiment with mathematics. Also, just like what we've seen here in this example with the 3D plane, that you can move around points, so you can investigate different situations in a very quick and playful way. So I sometimes call it like in physics, you have experiments. So you have a lab where you can do experiments, and GeoGebra is kind of like a mathematical experimentation lab. because everything in mathematics is abstract. So we make mathematics tangible and something to play with. I think that's what we like to do.
Very nice. And also, Paulo Andrea asked, is it possible to embed the activity in Moodle, for instance?
It is possible to include GeoGebra activities in Moodle. Yes, with the classroom environment, you can definitely share the link via Moodle. So the link that Julia was just posting on the chat, you can use that and put it in Moodle. What's missing at the moment is that there's no connection yet in terms of the user accounts. So that's also something that we would like to do in the future, that the students, when they're logged in Moodle, that they would automatically be logged in GeoGebra Classroom. That's something that we don't have yet, but it's also on our list of things that we would like to do in the future.
Yeah, it will be very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Another comment from Fabi. Hi, I use GeoGebra Classroom regularly for my courses, but my students have reported that the answers are not saved when they take a break and resume after a while. Do you have any workarounds for this situation?
Yes, so as Julia mentioned earlier, when the students log in to GeoGebra Classroom, so when at the beginning, when they join the class, they use a GeoGebra login, then everything should be saved in their profile. So they can come back later and everything should still be there. So please try that. That should hopefully solve your problem.
Okay, thank you. Also, Sergio Rubio Pizorno have a question. In the future, will it be possible that students upload files to GeoGebra Classroom, like images, PDFs, or any other kind of files?
That's a very good question. And actually, we just discussed this earlier this week in our team meeting, that in particular, uploading images is something that we would definitely love to support, because we know that many people are working in a combination with paper and digital. So if students write down some of their solutions on paper, uploading an image, just taking a picture of your sheet of paper, the work that you've done of paper, uploading the image could be a nice solution to bring the paper and the digital closer together in an easy way. So yes, that's definitely something we want to do. Yes.
Yes. It will be very useful also. Okay, now we have another question from Cesar Enrique Pedrosa Gonzalez. Good afternoon. In the previous versions of GeoGebra, there was the functionality of sensors, using sensors for measuring things. Is there a possibility to have again this functionality?
Yeah, that's also a very interesting aspect about the relationship of GeoGebra and the sciences, like physics. Yes, so we had played with that at some point. At the moment, unfortunately, we don't have any direct support for sensors. But I also spoke to a colleague from physics education that this is something that we would like to start in a new project in the future, because there are some very nice sensors app like this Firefox app in physics, and it would be nice to have some connection to GeoGebra to get the data from some sensors into GeoGebra. So at the moment, the answer unfortunately is no, we don't have anything right now, but it's something that we definitely want to pick up again in the future.
Okay, now these questions look more like a feature request.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We always, our goal is to make teachers and students happy. So we're happy to hear that.
We have one more feature request. Is it possible, say Silvia Esther Coria, is it possible that the student can complete a task asynchronically? So later save the changes to the homework in class?
Yes, that is also possible. So the GeoGebra classroom that Julia has just created, it's going to live on. So it's still there also after this session. So also people who watch the video, they can go in there. I believe they can go in there, Julia.
I also think so, yeah.
Yeah. So you can join later, and then you can do this as homework, and also the teacher can come back later and we'll see what the students have done. So yes, it can also be used for homework. Of course, then you don't see in real time how the students are working on it, unless you stay up all night as a teacher and watch what the students are doing. But yes, it can be used asynchronously as well. Yes.
Okay, nice. Antonio Espinosa also have a question. In the future, are you planning to add the option to give feedback to a student? It would be a great tool.
Yes, so like we said earlier, the idea is that we want to add a chat feature so that you can give feedback to students individually or also groups of students. That's something we will talk about later via the chat. Yes.
Okay. We have some questions that have already been answered. Is possible to communicate in real time? We answered. Asynchronically, I have answered. Let me see what are the. Okay, Julie Vite. So, my question is, what would be the best way to work with GeoGebra in this distance education situation? Some recommendations for the distance education.
Yeah, so we believe that GeoGebra Classroom is a good way to use our tools in this situation. Why? Because otherwise, if students would be working just with our apps alone, then as a teacher, I cannot really see what they're doing. So it is very difficult as a teacher then to get to collect the work from students. So with GeoGebra Classroom, we are trying to solve this challenge that when you embed anything into GeoGebra Classroom, and that could also be, that can also be one of our apps. So there can be like the geometry app or the graphing calculator app inside of Classroom. And I can see as a teacher what students are doing. And that's not just for testing or checking our homework, but it's also just to see where they're struggling and that we can help each other and help them to learn math.
Thank you. Also, Leticia Vargas asked, how can we use this tool for elementary education in elementary school?
So maybe so yes, there are lots of activities on our website. Julia, maybe you can say a little bit more about that, because I think that wasn't there also a project where the Latin American community was collecting some resources?
Yeah, in March when the pandemic started, we decided to make some resource collection to really collect great resources for teachers for elementary school, middle school, and high school. So we started with German resources and also with English resources, and the Latin community helped us to also create the same structured resources for the Spanish community. So there's also a Spanish resource collection on our homepage. So when you visit our homepage, on the front page, you can find 3 different resource collections for different grade levels.
So maybe when we continue later with the demo, maybe you can show that quickly.
Yeah, sure. I will show it.
We have a related question by Gabriel Guzman Salazar. For which grade do you recommend to start with this interaction with the mathematical concept and geometric meaning?
Yeah, as said, so I think we think you can already do it in elementary school. So I think you can start from 1st grade. Actually, we have done it in kindergarten also. So we have done it with 3-year-olds. I think it just depends on what kind of activity you have, where you just move around shapes. So you can have very simple things where the students or the kids, they don't have to know how to use GeoGebra. They are not creating anything, but they would just use ready-made activities in the beginning. And of course, when they grow older, like if they may be a 12-year-old or older, then they can also start to create their own constructions with the software. Okay, but Julia, I think, can show some examples in a minute that will make it clearer.
Here is another interesting question by Jose Perez. Is there a link about future modifications to GeoGebra Classroom GeoGebra 6, GeoGebra scripting, or GeoGebra JavaScript?
Yeah, so if you want to know what's happening in the future, I think the best way is to follow us on social media, like to follow GeoGebra on our Facebook page, or also the Latin American GeoGebra community on Facebook, because they typically, I think, Julia, you know how it works, so they will repost your news article.
Yeah, we are going to write a GeoGebra newsletter 4 times a year, and I'm also working together with the Latin community, so they will also translate it to Spanish and also create some nice videos for the newsletter, and they will also share it on social media and also on the newsfeed on the GeoGebra homepage.
Yeah, so we make sure that you get notified about the new things coming out.
Right, we will be. Okay, we have several other questions regarding pandemics, having already answered. Here's one question by Adaena Hernandez. GeoGebra classroom activities can be done without internet, or do you need internet? And also, if you complete any task in GeoGebra, can you add to GeoGebra classroom, or every task GeoGebra has been done inside a GeoGebra classroom?
Okay, sorry. So the first question I understood, that was about internet. So yes, you do need internet access to use GeoGebra Classroom. Unfortunately, we don't have any offline solution for this environment yet. So if you are really working in an offline scenario, then we would suggest that as a teacher, you use our offline apps. Like, for example, kids could be installing GeoGebra Geometry app on their phone, and then they could share a file from their phone and save that file and maybe send it to you later when they have internet access, or upload it to Moodle. But in order to use GeoGebra Classroom, yes, you do need internet access. And the second question, can you please repeat that again?
The task have to be complete inside a GeoGebra Classroom, or you can do any other tool, and after that import into GeoGebra Classroom?
No, it would have to be done directly inside of GeoGebra Classroom. So we don't have any way to upload things at the moment. As said, there is this idea to at least allow uploads of images. I'm not sure if we will do file attachments, because I think this is something that you can already do nicely with systems like Moodle. So if you just want to upload files, I think there are many systems that can do that. But in GeoGebra Classroom, we just want to make it easy that you can share GeoGebra activities without having to deal with files. So that's kind of the reason why we want to do it that way, to keep things simple.
Okay, we have several other questions, but I think we can just...
So maybe we continue with GeoGebra notes, and then we come back to the questions afterwards. Shall we do that? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for all the questions and all your interest. Okay, Julia, so what are we doing now?
Now we are talking about GeoGebra notes. Maybe you want to say some words about what GeoGebra notes is?
So GeoGebra notes is a tool that was originally developed with the idea that as a teacher, you would work on an interactive whiteboard. Nowadays, we see that actually the situation is different. So now, in particular in the pandemic situation, many teachers are using this on tablets. So with a pen, with a digital pen. So what does it do? GeoGebra Notes allows you to combine interactive GeoGebra applets and apps. So interactive graphing, for example, and moving around certain things with hand writing, and also some other elements, like you can insert images, videos, you can even embed websites. So it's a nice way to document student work. So as a teacher, it can be something like what you would be writing on a board. So it can be like an interactive board. And for students, it can be something to document their work, where in mathematics, many times we want to write with the hand, where it's not enough or not easy, let's put it this way, it's not easy to write equations, for example, on a computer. It's possible, but sometimes a little bit cumbersome. So students can write with their hand. But I think I should really stop talking and I should let Julia show what it is. I think that's much better. Please, Julia.
So I will now share the screen of my iPad. So you see now I'm working on a tablet. So it's possible to open GeoGebra notes in the browser and then you can use it. So I'm writing here with a pen. And you can see what I'm writing. You have a pen, different colors to choose. You can also erase what you wrote. You can also change the size of the
So you're
things.
writing on your iPad now, Julia?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm writing on my iPad with the pen.
Okay, very good.
And yeah, so you have different options to choose. You can also use.
Do you speak Spanish?
I learned it a long time ago.
Oh, okay. You should have done this in Spanish.
I only know hola a todos, me llamo Julia, but that's all.
It's much better, much more than I can say.
Yeah, you can also use some highlighters, so to highlight some of your text, or on the second tab, we also have some objects, so we can add a rectangle and also change the style of the rectangle. We can change the filling or the color. Also the same with all the other objects. And on the third tab, we could also add, for example, a table. So when we have here the table, I can write something in there.
Yeah, so you see it's like, not just for mathematics, but it's for all subjects, really. So
yeah.
the usual things that you would expect from such a whiteboard or note-taking app. Mm-hmm.
And you have lots of options to change the format and the design. So yeah, you can play around with all this stuff. So as you can see, you can use it on a tablet or on a whiteboard, but it's also possible to just use it in the browser. So here now I'm using it just with the mouse on my computer. So it's also possible. So here I want to show you some other options. For example, you can insert the graphing calculator. You can move it around. And when you have a look at the graphing calculator, we have here the whole power of the GeoGebra graphing calculator. So we can use it like the other apps. So for example, here I created some sliders. And I can do everything like in the other apps. So I have the whole power of GeoGebra here in this applet.
So you have now embedded GeoGebra into GeoGebra. So you've embedded GeoGebra graphing calculator into GeoGebra notes. But you can also write here on the side, can't you? So
I could also write. So I can also use the pen tool.
In Spanish.
But it's not so beautiful when I'm writing with the pen.
With the mouse, yeah.
So with the mouse, it's more complicated. So for working on the computer, I would recommend to use the text object. So it's more beautiful.
But also,
easier.
Julia, I just got reminded of the question from one of the participants earlier about the uploading of images. So this is a place where you could do that. So here you could insert an image, couldn't you?
Mm-hmm. You have here the image element, so you can choose an image from your computer. So for example, I could choose here the GeoGebra logo. And now, it's a big image. You can change the size.
Mm-hmm. So students could, for example, take a picture of their work and then include it. So then you could have like the interactive GeoGebra app, and on the side, the handwriting, even from a picture on paper. So if they have the same problem like you, if they don't have a pen, like a digital pen, then they can write it on paper, just take a picture and upload it here, insert it here.
Then we also have an element for writing equations. So it's easy to write math equations. You can also combine this with some possibilities from the first tab. So I can use the highlighter to highlight something in this equation. I could also change afterwards the color of the highlighting. So I have lots of different options for designing my work. It's also possible to add videos. For example, here when I have a link from a video, I can copy the video and insert the video directly in GeoGebra notes. So I just have to choose the video element, and then I can insert here the link. And you can see here now, here my video is embedded in the GeoGebra notes.
Can you also play it?
Yeah, sure. It's no problem. When I click play, I can also play it. I can also skip forward to a special point. So you have the whole functionality like on YouTube, for example. So it's also possible to create another page. So I can add another page. And I could also include web elements. So for web elements, I can, for example, include GeoGebra applets. So I have found here a nice applet, and I would like to have this applet in my notes file. So I can copy the link and just insert it here. And so I have this GeoGebra applet now in my notes file, and I can use everything. For example, in this file, we have a nice auto-checking feature. So, yeah. I can change the line and I get automatically feedback, and I can practice and get a new line. I also can insert a whole website. For example, when I want to have the GeoGebra page here, you can now see we have here the GeoGebra page, and I can use it like when I open a new tab. And maybe when we are here at the page, I can also show you the resource collections which were spoken before. So here you can find lots of great resources for different school levels. For example, for elementary school, you can find here some collections of great resources. So for example, something about triangles, something about numbers.
That was done by the Latin American community.
Yeah.
Very good.
They helped us with these collections, and yeah.
Thanks so much.
So
wonderful.
Yeah. So you can also use a whole website with all the features on this in notes. So as you can see, you have lots of possibilities. There are even more. You can include audio elements, PDF elements, or graspable math, or the CAS calculator. So there are lots of different options to explore in GeoGebra notes.
So, Julia, was there anything else that you wanted to show about notes?
No, that was all.
Okay, so then maybe just to mention some of the workflow ideas. So what you could do as a teacher is, of course, you could use it as a teaching tool. So GeoGebra Notes could be something for you to help you also during distance education now in the pandemic situation, where as a teacher, you open GeoGebra Notes, you share your screen to the students so they can see what you're doing, just like what Julia was doing now. So she could use this as a teaching tool. I think when you're done with this, Julia, maybe you can show that as a teacher, if you could go back to the live page, because then you can share what you have done. So there's a share button.
There's the share button. So first I have to log in.
Okay, so you have to save it. But
so
then,
now I have to save it.
But then as a teacher, you get a link that you could give to your students. And this would basically just be a view-only link. So you could, as a teacher, you could create like all your materials that you've done during teaching. You can write with your pen if you have a digital pen, and then you can copy that link and give it to your students. So they would basically have your teaching notes. That's one way. So looking at it from the other side, students could also use this to do their homework, for example. And then they could take this link and give it to the teacher kind of to prove their homework. Or it can also be saved as a file. It can be downloaded and so on. So this could be an answer for the question that we had earlier for the offline situation. So that somebody could be using GeoGebra notes on their computer. I believe there's also an offline version of it. And so they can use it on their computer and then just save it as a file. But I think an interesting thing that just came to my mind and what we have also discussed already in the team is we would like to combine the two things that we've been showing today, GeoGebra Classroom and GeoGebra Notes. Is this something that we're going to be talking about, Julia?
Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Coming soon. Okay. Do you want to say something about that, Julia, or should I go ahead? You decide.
Yeah, I can say something about that.
Yeah,
so
please.
we are going to add some new features in the future, or in the near future. So the next step will be that there will be an equation editor for student input in classroom. So at the moment we have these open questions, and at the moment it's only possible to type in there some text. But for math education, it would also be good to have their equation editor so that students can also type in the functions or equations so that you can use this text element also for math answers. Yeah, we also plan that we can include GeoGebra notes in classroom. And we are also going to plan that it can be more interactive. So in the first screenshot on top, you can see that there are some students in classroom and they are in notes, and they are all working together. So for example, when I would share the link from my GeoGebra notes file, that also others can work together or to work together in a class on a GeoGebra notes file.
Yes, so this is a very important step in our view, because at the moment, both GeoGebra Classroom and also GeoGebra Notes, they are single user systems. So it's always each student, they have their own worksheet, they have their own file, and they have to work on it alone. And we think that this is a real problem right now, in particular in this pandemic situation where all the students are sitting at home and they're already isolated from each other. So our goal with GeoGebra Classroom is to bring teachers and students together into an interactive space where they can collaborate and work together. So right now we have done the first step, what we've shown earlier with Julia's demo, that as a teacher I can see quickly and get an overview of what the students are doing, and you can hopefully help them and then share the work. But students cannot be working together directly, and that should be so the idea here is, as a next step, we want to have collaborative whiteboards. So basically this note space that Julia was showing, there could be several students in a group working on the same space, and then inside of Classroom the teacher would see what the different groups are doing. So essentially we would be switching from individual student work to group work, and you can pick and choose as a teacher what you would like to do. So for us, that's a very exciting moment, because we have been dreaming about multi-user GeoGebra for many years. And now, thanks to GeoGebra Classroom and also thanks to GeoGebra Notes, we have the ingredients. And so now we just need to put them together. And we are currently, our development teams, they are working very hard on this in the background. So I'm not going to promise any date when this is going to be coming, but we hope that it will definitely be available very soon for you. So we really want to help students and teachers in this difficult time, and we're working very hard to bring this out soon. So I'm very excited about the collaborative whiteboard, Julia.
Me too.
Okay, anything else, Julia, that we want to share? Are we already ready for questions?
We're ready for questions.
Okay, perfect.
Oh no, just one more thing. So just one last important thing. So I already showed to you the GeoGebra Classroom tutorial, but we also have a tutorial for GeoGebra Notes. So here you can find the links. You can also find them on our homepage, and there you can also find lots of important information about these two apps and how to use them, and some examples how to use them.
And I'm sure that the organizers are going to share the links with you in a nice way, so that you don't have to type them later on. Okay, Gabriel, are there any questions from the audience?
Yes, we have several questions and also several greetings. We will start maybe with the last question by Sergio Rubio Pisorno. Okay, several professors, several teachers in Latin America say that when they're using GeoGebra notes, specifically when they are writing with the pencil, the pointer vanishes, and it's very difficult to make a good management of the available space. Is it possible to keep visible the pointer while it is writing, while we are writing?
Yes, I think that's something that I remember we discussed in the team, and it's something that we will do. Yes. Yes, so that's gonna happen, that we bring the pointer back.
Thank you. And also another question by Sergio Rubio. Will GeoGebra Classroom have an evaluation view like GeoGebra groups?
That's a very good question also. At the moment, so the short answer is yes, but this will take a little bit longer. So the reason for this is, at the moment, our main focus was really on exchanging student work, so that teachers and students can quickly see what they are doing. And GeoGebra Classroom was not made with assessment or evaluation in mind. However, we are working on a system, on a project where we want to develop a testing system and evaluation system on top of GeoGebra Classroom. So as part of this, we're definitely going to do that. So in short, yes, we will bring back such features, but at the moment we will focus more on communication. So what I said earlier with the chat feature, for example, the image upload and things like this, they will be more important for us right now than evaluation, because I think you can already do evaluation with GeoGebra groups or also with Moodle and things like this. And at the moment, we really want to help teachers and students to be able to work together. But it's on our list, yes. It's going to come a little bit later.
Thank you. More features. Will it be possible to classify activities on labels by names of courses or subjects of mathematics, chemistry, biology, physics, engineering? It's a question by Jose Perez.
Julia, do you want to take this one?
It's possible to create folders on your profile. So I would recommend to make different folders for different subjects, or also for different classes. And then I can drag and drop or move all the activities which belong to a certain subject in this folder. And so I can structure my resources.
Thank you. Also, another question by Jose Perez. Do you plan to include a protractor, compass, triangle 30-60-90, triangle 45-90, and a ruler to make geometry constructions in the form of manual measurements in GeoGebra notes?
Yes and no. So some of these things we will include, but not all of them. So I think we will do something like a protractor, but I don't think that we will do a compass. So the reason for this is simply some things you can mimic the thing that you do on paper. Some of these things you can mimic on digital, but some things you cannot. So we just try to do what we think makes sense. In other cases, if you want to teach students how to use like a compass, I believe that sometimes it's a good idea just to take your phone and make a video of it, or show like a live broadcast of what you're doing in the real world. I think that's better than for us trying to reinvent this in the digital space. But yes, we're trying to support some things where it makes sense, but we see the digital space not as a replacement for paper and pencil, but as an add-on. So I think that even in a pandemic situation, we should think of ways how we can do things together. And we have had very good experience of teachers having like even webcams mounted to their head, like a GoPro, and basically, just showing how they're using the projector. I think it's also fun. So we should use technology.
Very nice suggestion.
Thank you.
We have another question by Cesar Enrique Pedrosa. I designed a physics simulations in GeoGebra Classic. In the future, will it be possible to compile so it can be a standalone executable file?
Probably not. So quite frankly, I think we are really trying to go in a direction where everything is web ready and everything can be included in the web. But what we still are dedicated to is our offline apps. So the classic app will still be around, of course, in the future. So we will continue to maintain it, and also our native apps for iPad and iPhone and so on. It's very important for us that they are fast and work offline. So maybe this could be a solution then also for him.
Thank you. So the future is more web-oriented. Galicia Reyes Antonio asks, can a GeoGebra classroom activity be joined into GeoGebra notes?
No, it will be the other way around. So the GeoGebra notes can be included inside of GeoGebra Classroom. So kind of what we saw earlier in Julia's example, there was the 3D applet sitting inside of Classroom. So you will be able to put notes in that place. So you can have different notes pages inside of GeoGebra Classroom. And the advantage will then be that students can also write directly inside of Classroom. And as a teacher, I can see what students are doing. So that's the current idea.
Thank you.
Maybe the other way around could also work, Julia, because you could probably embed a web element in notes and show it.
Yeah,
right?
I also think that it would work when you use the web element.
Yeah, just try it.
Okay. Now, Leticia Vargas, a question on how are you connecting, Julia, your tablet, the computer? We saw you writing on your iPad, but Leticia said if she doesn't have a tablet, so can I use GeoGebra Notes directly on laptop or desktop, or if not, a more affordable option than using a tablet to live online classes?
It's both possible. So I also used, for the first part of the demo, I was writing on my tablet, and for the second part, when I embedded all the elements, I used it on the desktop. So you can also use it on the desktop and so on the computer in the browser. So it's possible on the tablet and also on the computer and also on whiteboard. So you can use it in every browser.
Thank you. We have many good comments. Gabriel Guzman Salazar says, I love GeoGebra forever because I consider the most important thing is the best way linking the mathematical concept with the space. Also,
thank you so much, Gabriel.
Manuel Martinez, great app. I will share it with middle school and high school teachers. I will explore it for the elementary. I teach 4th grade, he says. Well, geometry is basic, but it's about the foundation of for future geometry work. Great app. Greetings. Manuel Martinez says, thank you. Very interesting and useful presentation. Okay, so please receive all these gratitudes from the audience. Okay, and there is a handful of another questions that have already been answered during the talk. Thank you very much.
All right, then I think it's time for us to thank everybody. Thank you, Gabriel, and the organizers of the conference for having us here. And also thank you to everyone using GeoGebra and all the teachers out there who are doing their best in this really difficult time. So thank you so much for all your efforts. And I hope that the work of Julia and myself and of our team can support you a little bit. So if there are any, questions, ideas that you have also after the fact, please feel free to let us know. Julia was showing our email address, support@geogebra.org. We're always very happy to get feedback from all of you, either directly to us or also through the Latin American community. So you can send it in Spanish to them and they can then, communicate with us. So that would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. GeoGebra Latin American community is very grateful for your nice work. We have greetings also from Illinois in the United States, to Lima in Peru, and also this conference, as you know, is based in Mexico. So we are from all Latin America and beyond. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Antes de finalizar la transmisión, les recordamos las próximas actividades del TEMBI 7. A partir de las 16 horas de hoy comienza el bloque 2 de talleres, donde las personas que se registraron podrán disfrutar de los siguientes talleres. Tenemos 3. Número 1, ¿es posible una nueva geometría con GeoGebra? El caso de la geometría dinámica. Exponen Sergio Rubio Pizorno de México y Chile y Diana Bustamante Hernández de México. También tenemos el taller Aplicaciones con GeoGebra en prácticas de cálculo diferencial e integral con Clara Moncada de México y Camilo Garzón de Colombia. Número 3, Explorando la estadística y probabilidad con GeoGebra con Freddy Rivadeneira de Ecuador y Evelyn Tacú de México. Además, a las 18 horas de hoy, jueves 12, es la segunda sesión de los talleres del bloque 1. Tenemos las constancias que todavía se pueden poner, las constancias de los que nos acaban de dar las conferencias plenarias. Tenemos a Julia Wolfinger. Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla otorga la presente constancia a Julia Wolfinger por haber presentado la conferencia GeoGebra Classroom Notes for Remote Learning and Collaboration en el taller internacional Tendencias de la Educación Matemática basada en la Investigación, celebrado del 11 al 14 de noviembre de 2020. Y también tenemos una constancia para Marcos. La Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla otorga la constancia a Marcus Hohenwarter por haber presentado la conferencia GeoGebra Classroom and Notes for Remote Learning and Collaboration en el taller internacional Tendencias de la Educación Matemática basada en Investigación, celebrado del 11 al 14 de noviembre de 2020. Firman doctora Marta Alicia Palomino Bando, directora de la Facultad de Ciencias Físico-Matemáticas, y la doctora Lidia Aurora Hernández Rebollar, presidenta del comité organizador. As always, a certificate. Thank you for your participation. Very nice conference.
Thank you so much for having us.
Mañana viernes 13 de noviembre quedan todos y todos invitados a las 2 conferencias que tendremos en el TEMBI 7. A las 13 horas, hora del Centro de México, las doctoras Judith Hernández y Darly Q de México estarán compartiendo la conferencia Los significados del concepto de ecuación cuadrática en estudiantes de secundaria y sus implicaciones en la enseñanza. Después, a las 18 horas, hora del Centro de México, la doctora Marcela Parragués de Chile estará compartiendo la conferencia Más de una década investigando hechos didácticos desde la teoría modos de pensamiento, hallazgos y avances. Les recordamos que la transmisión de las conferencias del TEMBI 7 se realizan por el canal de YouTube de la Facultad de Ciencias Físico-Matemáticas de la UAP y por la página de Facebook de la comunidad GeoGebra Latinoamericana. Están todas y todos invitados. Si tienes alguna consulta sobre el evento, puedes escribir a las redes sociales de la comunidad GeoGebra Latinoamericana. Búscanos en Facebook, Instagram, Twitter y YouTube por el nombre corto GeoGebra Latino. Muchas gracias por su asistencia. Nos vemos en las próximas actividades del TEMBI 7. Muchos saludos. Cuídense.